Oh, that table I've been working on for now going on 3 weeks here. This is my third week. So let me tell you, I have a plan. This week I am tired of looking at it. I'm going to get rid of the texture. I'm going to get rid of the little lumps and bumps that are left behind from stain that didn't come off. I know what I did wrong. I could have stripped it again. Another thing that might have helped was to use steel wool when I used the mineral spirits after the stripper. I will remind you before I get comments that I am an artistry painter. This really isn't what I do. So it was an experimental journey for me. So the bottom line at this point is I need to get it moving. I need to move on with my life. So I think that next time I strip and stain, I'll have a much better clue as to what's going on. But right now, I'm going to move on with it. So the first thing I did was thinking about the base of the table. I just wasn't feeling distress in it. I just feel like farmhouse is kind of, I don't know, a little passé at this point, at least for this table. But I decide that I'm going to do something a little bit interesting and different on the base. And I'm using amazing casting resin. It's a 2-part epoxy. So you mix equal parts of part A and part B. Mix it together. You stir it. And it gets cloudy at first. And then it'll get clear. And that's when you'll be ready to pour. I am using the new IOD or Iron Orchid Designs cameo molds. I saw those and I just had to have that mold. I love to make jewelry. So I thought it would be great for different furniture pieces as well as jewelry making. That's mainly why I got it. So once you have it and it's clear, then you can start pouring it into your molds. So you can kind of see in proportion to the size of my hand and the cup how big that mold is that I'm pouring into. And I really mixed a big batch, so I had some left, considering there's only one of those particular molds on this collection. So I just take some of the additional material, because you never want to let it waste and sit up for no reason. So I'm pouring some other pieces. Now, what I find interesting is that the bigger and the more mass in a mold, like the first one I poured, the faster it'll set up. The smaller and tinier and more shallow the mold, the longer it takes. I don't know. That's just a puzzle to me. You would think it would be the opposite way around. And I probably comment on that every time that I use the amazing casting resin. So I did kind of do sort of like a time lapse a little bit, sped up the video so that you could see how quickly it sets up. So see the big one I poured? It's already almost ready to be unmolded. And the rest of them, I just pointed to the birds. You can just see how they're starting. And these were some other ones I did prior. But you can see kind of how it happens. So now everything's set up. And look how easy it is to unmold that. So I'm trying it on the piece. Oh yeah, I think I'm going to like that. At first I thought maybe 8 cameos was a lot. So I get some tape ready and I glue up all the cameos the whole way to the edges. And I use tight bond, thick and quick. I position it and I use some tape. And then I just let it sit for a while. There's a little spot there where I scraped off a paint drip. When you have that, when you're using the silk all-in-one paint, you want to just scrape it off rather than try and sand it. Okay, here's what I did to the top. I used Voodoo Gel Stain. Now, this gel stain is a water-based stain. I used Tobacco Road, Up in Smoke, White Magic, and Black Magic. And I'm just kind of putting it on sort of looking like Morse code or snakes, I did consult with some other Dixie Belle retailers, and I asked their opinion about using this on top of the walnut no pain gel stain that I had already used. Some of them were really opposed to doing it, said oil and water don't mix, and some of them said that sure, I do it all the time after it's dry, and some of them said I do it when it's wet. So I'm like that. I'm experimental. So after I read that, I thought, I'm going for it. So the brush I'm using is an old brush, and it's a little bit stiff, but I did it intentionally. I thought this would be great to give sort of a striated line look. So that's my intention, is to kind of mix these colors together, but not so much that you lose the individual colors and lines. So I do that brush at first, and then I grab a Dixie Belle Best Dang brush, which is a big, soft, round brush. It's great for blending. It's great for wax. So I keep one that I use for paint, and I keep one that I use for wax, because I'm not a good brush mom, and I don't always wash my brushes out immediately. Sometimes I let them soak, and the wax ones I let sit. And I'm okay with that. So everybody's got their own way of doing things. So I am taking very light sweeping strokes and just going across those striations that I had already created. Kind of mesmerizing, right? This totally changes the look of this piece, and I'm much happier. I'm dealing with more like paint rather than my stain, although this is a stain. I love Voodoo Gel Stain. I use it in a lot of different applications. I love having the squirt bottle. It's just really cool that you can just pour it out and then just work with it. It's kind of a thinner paint. It has a little bit of a different consistency, but I just love it. So I'm loving the look I'm getting. Now my prayer is that it just stays that way, because the no pain gel stain, and again, I don't think it's the fault of the stain. It was my prep. But it would look good at first, and then it would just start to deteriorate. So I'm doing the other side in the same manner. If you're interested in any Dixie Belle products, my link is in the description box. That is my affiliate link. That means you order directly from Dixie Belle, and I just get a little kickback from it. So it doesn't cost you anymore, but it does help my small business. I am so excited for next week. I really had my week screwed up. I was thinking this week was our Halloween challenge, but it is next week, the big collaboration between 20 or 30 YouTubers, and it's all fall themed Halloween. I'm so excited for it. So I got a little more gray on this side, so I'm mixing in a little bit more Tobacco Road, a little more black. I just do it to get that striation back in. This will dry a lot faster. It takes days for the oil-based no pain gel stain to dry, but this is water-based. Like I said, it's kind of more like thinned down paint, so it goes a lot faster. It really dries fast. So I'm pretty happy with my results so far. So there's one of the molds unpainted, and so now I'm gonna paint. And remember, I used silk in Endless Shore. And it only took one coat to put over the mold, and just to touch up the rest of the piece. I had considered distressing it, but it looked so pretty, and especially against the new top, that I just opted out. I think I'm just going to leave it just like that. I think it's fresh looking, and it's more in line with that cottagecore decor feeling, I think, than total farmhouse. Check it out. I only have one more step to go. What do you think? So now I'm finishing up by putting a coat of Gator hide on top of the finish. So you pour the Gator hide into a container and use one of these great blue sponges to apply so you don't get brush marks. I love using this method. Just want to make sure that you wet the sponge first and wring it out with water. And then I always just kind of plop the sponge down and then so it makes good contact, and then just use long sweeping strokes. I like to apply it and then go back and forth and just go make sure you're starting and stopping off the edge. That way you don't also leave round marks where the sponge started. So I do this, and I will sand after this first coat and add at least one more coat, if not two. Gator hide is a water-resistant protective top coat that's really good for dining room tables. Thanks for hanging in there with me throughout this process. Like I said, I never dreamed this would be a 3-part series. And also, I haven't gotten the chairs done yet, so you'll be seeing those in the future as well. They're kind of more of a repair job as well as painting, so and a little upholstery. So I sure hope you enjoyed and learned a lot, learned from my mistakes. And maybe in the future I'll try staining and stripping and sanding and all that good stuff again. Don't forget to come back next week for the Halloween challenge. Thank you so much for watching today. If you like this video, how about giving it a thumbs up and also share it with your friends? If you haven't subscribed, you'll want to do that so you don't miss anything. Visit us at LiVintageDecor.company, and on Instagram we're LiVintageDecor, and on Facebook we're LiVintageDecor Altoona. Stay well.